Now for some perspective on the midterm elections and more, we turn to Bob Cusack, editor-in-chief of The Hill. Bob, good morning.
Good morning.
A lot of, outcomes still uncertain, actually all over the country from the East Coast to the West Coast. But the picture 4 days after the election is starting to become clearer, and it looks like now in the House, as many as 35 seats or more the Democrats could have flipped, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is the biggest, and I would call it a wave.
You would call it a wave?
I would call it a wave in the House, because this is the most Democratic pickups since Watergate. This is bigger than 2008. It's bigger than 2006. So now, I know some Democrats were disappointed they didn't do better in the Senate, but the House was a victory, no doubt about it.
Is any reasoning why in the Senate it didn't fall the same way?
Well, it's just a matter of the battlegrounds. The map was very Republican-friendly in the Senate.
Yeah.
And in the House, it was more the suburbs, and that's where Republicans and Trump got beat.
A lot of staging going on, a lot of PRing in the contest over the actual ballots in Florida, in Arizona, in these hotly contested races. Just when you think about people saying there was rampant fraud and elected officials saying, my goodness, we shouldn't count every vote.
Right.
Is that a slippery slope?
It is, and I think the voters are going to get tired of it. I mean, we had the election, and it's not going to be over for quite some time. So I think the PR games, the spinning. It's interesting in Florida. I mean, this is Rick Scott. He's the governor. He could suspend Florida officials, and some Republicans are calling on him to do that in Broward County. That remains to be seen.
How important is that recount in Florida to both parties?
Very important. The Republicans are going to have control of the Senate, no doubt about it. It's either going to be 1, 2, or probably 3 seats. But what if there's another Supreme Court nomination? What if that nomination is controversial? How many votes do Republicans have to play with? And then like someone like Susan Collins, who basically was a decider on Brett Kavanaugh, really has less power if Republicans pick up a couple more seats.
The president after the election was touting it as a Republican victory. Was it for his agenda, at least?
Not for his agenda, because he's not going to get anything, I think, that he really wants that Republicans love. He's not going to get that 10% middle-class tax cut. It was a split decision. I think he did a very good job in getting his base out in the Senate races, in the red states.
Yeah, we haven't heard anything about immigration since the election.
That's right.
Really.
That's right. That's exactly right. So I think it was a split decision, but for his agenda, anything that gets through Congress now has got to be bipartisan.
I want to talk about Matt Whitaker quickly, the acting Attorney General. Already a fight over him. Where do you think that's headed?
Well, I think Democrats are going to try to craft some legislation that would protect the Robert Mueller probe. But the thing is, the Mueller probe is toward the end. Now, the question is, what are we going to see? What is the public going to see? A report has to be filed to DOJ. So Whitaker decides whether that becomes public. But then House Democrats could have a hearing, and they could compel it to come forward. So it's a big deal, but I also think the Mueller probe is going to wrap up pretty soon.
So much to talk about.
Exactly.
Bob Cusack, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.